All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and wherever you are. I'm in Australia down under in the jungle at the moment, and I have Daniel from Pinball Brothers who is in Europe. Daniel, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Please, it's been a great journey. I've been talking with you guys for ages, and we're coming to you from the past. If you're watching this, it is now the present future. The game has released. We are pre-recording this, so we're flying a little bit blind, but at the same time, we'll go through everything we've got. When I heard this rumor of Predator, and a lot of our viewers will know this, I am a huge ambassador for nostalgia. And I think nostalgia is a very powerful thing. And for boutique companies, I think nostalgia is the secret sauce to making successful games that will sell out at a good number. And we'll touch on that in a second. I think themes like this, like Commando, like Fifth Element, maybe Matrix and Top Gun and Rocky, the boxing movie. Those are themes that a company makes them. We know that they're going to sell out pretty quick. When I heard Predator, I had the same questions as everyone else. Is it the first movie? Who's involved? Everyone keeps saying, "Is there Arnold?" All that type of stuff. And you guys were very keen and very open to have a conversation. And I'm very grateful for you to share stuff that you've entrusted in me, for me not to leak, obviously, or share with everyone. Daniel, tell me a little bit first. Let's start off. How were you involved in Pinball Brothers?
Yeah, I'm actually acting as CEO of the company.
Yep.
So, and I've been that since the very beginning in 2020 when we relaunched the Alien Pinball. And But for this game and from last game and into this game, I've been also been involved with, or I'm actually the leading the development team also in the company. So, and I'm also doing the code for the game. So I'm having a bit of
Lots of hats.
lots of hats, yeah. But I think that is quite common in the pinball
Yeah,
community. So yeah,
for sure.
yeah, that
And so, in relation to Predator as a license, when did it start? Like, how many years have you guys had this? Is it something relatively new that you jumped on, or have you been working on it for a while?
we've been working on it for a while. I mean, we had the Alien license, and that is from the beginning. There was a contract with 20th Century Fox, and which became Disney because Disney acquired Fox. So
Yeah,
that's how we started talking to or working with Disney. And apparently, Predator is also 20th Century Fox brand. So it was kind of Disney liked what we did with Alien, and so it was a pretty straightforward
mm,
discussion, I would say, to add the Predator and make a game of that. And that happened quite a long time ago, to be honest, because you have these contracts for licensing that are typically 2 or 3 years, and then you have extensions of those contracts. And
mm.
when there is an extension, you can talk about future titles or new brands. So that is what happened. And then we have been knowing that we were doing Predator for quite a while, but we started the project in 2024. So it's maybe the very beginning was maybe a year ago, something like that.
Oh, it's come around quick then.
Yeah, we this is our fourth game, so we have it's a struggle to make the first one, and it's a struggle to make every game, but
Yeah,
you get better and better doing it. So it's you know some things that you should avoid, and you do a bit of better planning and so on. So I think
yeah.
this project has been kind of straightforward, even if there's a lot of ups and downs in every pinball project, I can tell you. But
Mm.
we hope that we think that we are in a good position to actually make games at a quicker rate onwards. Um,
And there's still an affiliation, obviously, between you guys and Predretti, right?
yes, we from the beginning, when we relaunched Alien, we worked with we had a partnership with Pedretti for manufacturing our games, and that partnership eventually led to us setting up the Euro Pinball Corp company together. And Pinball Brothers is the majority shareholder, so it's technically a subsidiary to Pinball Brothers.
Yeah.
So, but we have, it's obviously two brands, but still we work together. And I mean, Andrea and the other guys, Marco and Gabriele and Alessandro and the other guys at EPC has been involved quite a lot in this project too, of course.
So the games are being manufactured in Italy, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We don't have any production facilities elsewhere, so it's a good.
But I think working together is, I've always said, a lot of these companies, especially the big ones. I mean, there's, it's a hard work to make a game. There's a lot of overheads. There's a lot of team. There's a lot of people. And why not work together? I think it's a smart move. And on a game like this, I think I have an Alien. LV. I love the game. I know it wasn't technically one that you guys did from inception, but it was still to take that and elevate it, to a traditional cabinet, and then obviously it was one of the most immersive experiences in a pinball game I'd ever played. From the call outs and the theme and the score and the atmosphere it created was very atmospheric. So I can understand there's a lot of pressure here with obviously Predator. And the last two games you did were very niche, I guess, a little bit, because they were music pins and you had to particularly not necessarily love the band, but you had to have a, if it was on site, you would play it just because you wanted to play a new game. But to own it, I think there's a little bit of an element there where you need to be into that genre. There is still that with Predator, because obviously not everyone's into, sci-fi, horror, action. That's fine. But I think it's safe to say this is probably a wider demographic of people. From what I've seen, it looks fantastic. It looks jam-packed. And the design of the game, I'm going to pull that up now, right? So most of you, if you're watching this by now, you've seen the trailer and whatnot, and we're going to pull up the design of the game. The layout, the whitewood, and the design. Who was that? Was that a collab of guys, or was it one particular person?
The design of the game is actually it was a collaboration between me and Peter, who is our mechanical designer here in Sweden, and then Andrea at EPC. We worked together as a team. We had some ideas from the start, and then we sort of elaborated on that. So, but it was pretty clear from the beginning that the centerpiece of the game should be the Predator itself. So maybe that is too obvious, but I think Predator as a theme is quite obvious, and to us it felt natural to do it. So yeah.
So this is based on the first film in 1987, correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. And I mean, one question that everyone's been asking and wanting to know, do you play as the Predator or do you play as a soldier in this game, or neither? Is it more like you an outsider experiencing the movie?
It's a very good question. And we decided that from the very beginning that you are actually playing the game as Dutch, because he is the one fighting Predator. So you are stepping into the shoes of Dutch. And
Dutch.
So you and then you have in the user interface you have the rest of the crew, and you can bring them to into special missions, and you have to bring them especially into the fights with the Predator when he attacks, because otherwise it's going to be really hard. And you have to bring a lot of guns and into the fights, and ammo also. So
I was looking at the playfield, and I gathered by all the weapons and everything that there is that element, and obviously you've just confirmed it for me, collecting weapons, collecting allies and things like that, fighting against the Predator. Which is, it's a simple, straightforward, but it works. I think sometimes it's better not to overcomplicate code, especially with some of these games that are quite deep. So you play as Dutch. Now, I know, and I've dealt with licenses and other scope of work that I do and stuff, and I know it is very difficult to get voice actors and stuff like that. Arnold Schwarzenegger is an expensive asset. I'm well aware of that, and I'm very understanding to that. Some of the community obviously was like, "Oh, it's got to have Arnold. It's got to have Arnold." I did see in the movie poster, which I'll share in a minute, that it does specify that you do have scenes from the movie and call-outs from the movie. Do we have Arnold Schwarzenegger call-outs from the film?
Currently, it is a voice actor.
Yep.
But that is the straight answer to that. And I will be completely transparent with everything I can be transparent about, because there are some things I can't really say.
Did you use Cengiz?
No, we didn't. We used another guy. But on another. The thing is this: we decided early on that you should step into the shoes of Dutch and play the game as Dutch, and but we obviously, even if it fits the narrative of the game in that context, that you are basically Arnold then, so you don't have to show him in the game and so on. So, but everybody should say that we are just doing that because we couldn't afford to have him in the game and so on. And to some extent, that is true. Not that we couldn't afford, because it has nothing to do with that. There are other sort of complications, but he is in the clips, but he is not. We are not allowed to use him, his face or his in all the clips. We are kind of limited, you could say. And the exact reason for that, it has nothing to do with us. It's something else. But we obviously want to be able to add more of him in the game, and that is still a possibility. And even the callouts is also a possibility. So, but it's out of our control. Basically, we are not a part in that situation at all. So that's all I can say. But apart from being kind of restricted when it comes to Arnold, we have all the actors and all the callouts from the movie. So you will have Dylan and Hawkins and Blaine and so on. So it's kind of cool, and it's also cool that Disney has been from the very start, because another thing that is kind of hard these days is there are quite strict policies when it comes to violence and guns and blood and gore and stuff like that in a game. But this game has been R-rated from the beginning from their side, so we have been given sort of free hands when it comes to what to include and not in the game. So it is really a full Predator experience in my mind.
Look, I really appreciate and respect your explanation of that, and I think unfortunately, and we did touch on this already before, the pinball community has an element of stamping their feet and kind of going, well, if it hasn't got this, I'm out, or why did they even bother doing the license, and blah blah blah. And there are elements where I can understand real passionate Predator fanatics, but I think licenses are not easy to deal with. We've heard that from many other manufacturers. We've heard that sometimes it's not even the license, it's whoever owns that particular part of the film. I believe Predator, and can you confirm this, the film license is actually owned by different people in different continents?
I haven't heard that, to be honest. I can't confirm that. No.
I heard somewhere, and I can't remember. It may have been maybe if the game was maybe before it was sold to obviously Disney. But I'd heard that Predator as a film license was owned by different people in America or Europe, and that's why there was different licenses, multiple licenses, which I've heard before in some games. So we know that. And look, and I'm okay with a voice actor at the moment. We may get like the Arnold Schwarzenegger edition, like we did with the Ripley. But if like everything else is there, and I think sometimes the element of the design, which I'll pull up again, if the game is packed and it's got toys and mechs, and we've seen, you know, the machine gun, and the shots and the Predator toy, like for me, I think there's plenty in there that is still going to keep the passionate Predator people happy with the game. This element here with the rattling gun, which you guys teased on the internet today, which is very fast. And I'm assuming that's where you lock your balls and that shoots out the multi balls.
Yeah, that's one of the multiples. You have
Yep.
that whole sequence is quite long actually. You have at the very top of the playfield, you have a magnet that grabs the
Yep.
ball when it not that one, is another one at the,
Oh, yeah.
at the top, yeah, behind there, and it actually drops the ball into a subway, and that subway leads all the way down to the right
Oh, cool.
side at the,
Yep.
you have that
Yep.
arm net there, yeah.
Yep.
There's a VUK, and the ball comes up there, and there's a lock post. So under that army net, I don't know if that's the correct
Yeah.
term in
I mean,
English,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but the balls are sitting on that wire form, waiting to be released when you have qualified for Jungle Blast multiple, and then
Yep.
they are fed to the minigun one by one and fired into play. So that is
So they come down this wire form
yeah,
into the gun.
yeah, and then they
Yeah.
are fired into the game, and it's a kind of wild multiple. So yeah.
And how many multiples are in the game? 3?
Yeah, there are 3 main multiples in the game, and that
Yep.
is camp attack, which is qualified in the bumper area, and where you obviously have the camp sitting on top of the bumpers. Yeah,
Yep.
and and then you have the jungle blast multiple that we talked about
Yep.
before, and then you have the get to the Choppa, obviously.
Now I'll actually pull up the other one because I just realized I will do this one because this one actually has. I really like the way you guys did this. One thing I really like, leaning on speaking about nostalgia and the 80s and all that. I love the fact that the teaser had the voiceover that was kind of like an 80s 90s movie trailer, and the
Yeah,
fact that your posters look like posters that were put up on a bedroom because it's got the creases, right?
yeah, yeah.
I thought that was a great touch.
Thank
It
you.
really kind of made me
That is
feel,
actually Daniel Bergqvist's doing, I would say.
yeah. No, that is a great touch because I think it adds that element of, with again nostalgia. I always say it's a really powerful way of going back in time for that minuscule second that you remember seeing something for the first time or touching something for the first time. You know, when you were 10 years old or 15 years old. And this really just reminds me of the movie posters. You know, I had a Predator movie poster, you know, it's such an iconic movie poster. But to treat it like this, where it looks aged and has creases, it was a great touch. So this is the camp sculpt that you're talking about, and I'll zoom in on that a little bit now. So,
Yeah.
so there's a bumper under there.
Yeah, it's 2 bumpers in
Yep.
the bumper in the camp area.
Yep.
So you have in the camp area, you have the camp scoop in front
Yep.
of it, where you collect Mac and you
Yep.
collect weapons, and also the sort of mystery in the game. And then you have the 2 targets to the stand-up targets to the left, which are first aid kits, which is basically ball save.
Yep.
And then you have a secret target that you can't see on this picture, that is slightly above to the left of the right bumper. So it's behind there. Yeah. So it's a bit to the right from where you are pointing now. Actually,
Yep.
it's the bumper where the barrels are on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is, but it's in there at least, so you can get some stuff from that. So that makes up the whole camp area.
And then the get to the chopper, we saw a teaser trailer of that where you lock the balls in the helicopter. Was there a plan that you guys thought, should we reuse the ABBA helicopter for this?
I mean, in the early days, right before ABBA, maybe there was somebody saying something like that, but I think that was never it never made it into any sort of real design
Yeah.
discussions.
You could have got away with it. I reckon you could have. Some people always criticize companies for reusing mechs. I think
Yeah,
this you could have got away of. But look, I understand the chopper mech's cool. It interacts the blade spin. I'm sure people will make mods and all that type of stuff anyway if they wanted to make it bigger or more interactive. We see a lot of that in the pinball community. The Predator actual toy that we've seen, tell me more about that. So that's got drop targets in front of it, correct?
yeah, it has drop targets in front of it, and then
Yep.
behind the drop targets you have a number of leaf switches also. So that's where you hit him, so to speak,
Yep.
when you fight with him. So, but he is fully interactive. He is moving up and down, left and right, and follow the ball, and he shows when he's getting hit in a big way, and he growls and snarls and makes all the sounds from the movie. So it's kind of really fun to fight him, to be honest.
And
And you
I'm
fight him
assuming
all.
your
Yes,
light show interacts in that mode, I would assume.
yes, a lot. We have actually a lot more lights in this game than we have had ever before, and that's partly thanks to Fast Pinball. We are
Mm.
collaborating with Fast Pinball and for the electronic system, and we have flashers and spotlights and RGB controlled LEDs almost everywhere, I would say. So there's a lot there's a lot more to it than you can see here, actually, when it comes to
And
lights.
it has a similar lighting strip in the side of the game that the Alien LV has, right?
Yeah, it has that on the sides.
Yep.
The difference is that you don't have we don't have RGB lighting on the sides because it doesn't really work that great with the artwork. So
Mhm.
but these ones are controllable in the way that they can be on and off. You can fade them, you can flash them, so you can use them quite a lot in light shows still. But there are the apron has 20 LEDs, and you also have RGB LEDs from the back. So we can really work with different color schemes in the game in a really cool way that we haven't been able to do before. So and
I
also,
really like your art blades where they got the plastic protection built into them.
yeah, yeah.
I think that was a cool trick. I don't think I've ever seen that done before, so that was cool. Sorry, I cut you off because there's a bit of a delay.
No problem. I just wanted to say that also we have. I mean, the game comes in only one version because we think
My next question.
Predator, but
Yeah.
we also wanted to add something extra, and you can get the trophy package, which is includes a shaker and Invisiglass and the green trim, and then you also have a back box lighting in that package.
Mm.
So you actually get RGB 60 RGB controllable RGB lights on the back of the back box, and that helps quite a lot when you go into modes like the assignment, for instance, when everything turns red and the helicopter is rotor is spinning. You get that red color in behind the game. Also, it's kind of effectful, actually. So
Yeah, look, I think it's a great combination. I actually really love the artwork. There's the element of the jungle, the map, kind of feels very 80s sense, like an 80s pinball, 90s pinball. The skulls, obviously, we know there's a lot of skulls in this game because the Predator skins his victims, etc. The apron in relation to the interactive sacrifice. So when does that activate, or is that kind of always playing random?
no, it's one of those things that will develop over time. We use it for various things. It animates when you get the jackpots and super jackpots and
Yeah, nice.
so on. But we also intend to use it for countdowns and things like that. It could be a little bit hard to read though, because you have to know
Of
the
course.
the language, but
Yeah.
but it's kind of cool actually. It works really well. I wasn't sure, to be honest, that it would actually come out as good as it did. So that's a really nice touch.
Look, it's one thing that when we saw the teasers that were being dropped, that as soon as everyone saw that, it was such an iconic piece of equipment in movie history. Most people would see it and know that it's from a Predator film, even if they haven't really seen Predator. So, look, I think it was a great choice. The Wristblade gauntlet knife ramp. So, I was, again, because I haven't seen the video gameplay of this, but so does this work as in like a quick VUK kick back into the wire form? How does that work?
No, it's actually a reversal ramp. So you it's a quick ramp shot that turns the ball back to. If you think of the reversal in Alien at the center of the game, that you actually have one reversal ramp on each side of the game. They are kind of hard shots, but they are really important in the game. So the Wristblade is one of those reversals. So it loops the ball back into the wire form and returns to the right flipper. And you also have that between the bumpers. You have a shot for on the other side in the camp. You actually shoot between the stand-up targets and the scoop. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And then there are actually two exits within that camp, because one is coming from the minigun firing, and the other one is the reversal underneath. So that those
Now, in relation to the plunge, and obviously you guys have a push plunge, no problems. This goes, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you can see my cursor on the screen. I'm assuming it comes out and then spins around that way. Is there more of a longer plunge on this game?
It's actually what's the word? You can choose the power. You can actually hold the button, and you can see from the inserts what power you have.
Yes, these ones here. I was going to ask about those. Yep.
Yeah. So you either you can just push the button and give it full plunge, and then it can go all the way, as you said. It can go up the ramp and get caught on the magnet at the top for a special skill shot. But you can also actually you can soft plunge into the game, and you can also make the drop targets at the center. And then you win a weapon. And then you get a weapon from that. And then you can go for the semi-hard plunge, which goes not into the ramp, but on top of above the drop targets. Then it drops down in the bumper area, and then you can have a secret skill shot on the stand-up target that is hidden in there. So but all of that is obviously a bit of it's going to be different on different games, because it depends on what pitch you put the game in on, and you can also adjust the power so you can get it to your liking. But the idea is that you should have at least four different ways of plunging the ball.
What's the ideal pitch? A few people actually I've come across have asked me my ideal pitch for Alien. What would be the ideal pitch for this game? Have you found a sweet spot?
If you ask me in 2 months, I could have a different one, but I think for now, I think 6.7 or 6.8, something like that.
6.8, yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming the map has to do with the modes and where you're traveling. You're traveling across the jungle.
That's the idea. You do that, but it's one of the tasks, so to speak. But that is actually not the modes. It's actually you have to the right of the Predator. You have something that says jungle event on an insert.
Oh yeah, yep.
which is actually not going to be called jungle event. It's going to be called jungle encounters, and it's going to say just jungle on that insert. So when you get a call out saying quick shoot the jungle, you know that the jungle is that shot. You start jungle encounters in there, and there's an up post behind the right ramp, and when you have a jungle encounter qualified, the ball stops there, and there's an intro played, and all of the steps on the map is actually one jungle encounter. So you have small encounters and you have bigger ones that are you can think of them as maybe smaller mini wizard modes or something like that.
Side missions and
Yeah, and but they are the whole map is about hurry ups. So you have a lot of the idea is you can score quite big, but you have to succeed and play them really well, those encounters. And if you do that, if you play a jungle encounter perfectly or good enough, you will actually win an item. There are 5 kind of famous items from iconic items from the movie. You can see them on down there. That's the binoculars and the knife and a map and the hopper's badge and a torch.
Mm-hmm.
And those items are give you some benefits when you play different things in the game. They are related to the special missions at the bottom or down below. You have 5 special missions.
These ones here.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
those are sort of bigger episodes from the movie. So you have the assignment, which is basically the start of the movie, where they are flying in helicopters to the jungle, and your mission is to disembark all the soldiers. And and you have green berets, you have setting traps, you have hunter and prey, and the hostage. So those are sort of special missions. The game.
So they're the modes, basically.
Yeah, that's the bigger modes, and the map is more about hurry ups and quicker encounters, you could say.
Yep. So this is the 3 flipper game.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Yeah, 3 flipper game. One question I've been dying to ask you, and I was like, when we play 2-player and we push the second player, do we see Dylan and Dutch do the famous arm wrestle catch?
You don't.
I want to see it.
Okay. I will write that down. As I said before, there's we hope to add loads of stuff into the game. We are adding loads of stuff. So it's just a question of what we can add and how much. But I will keep that in mind.
I'm sure their biceps aren't licensed. Just don't show the faces. As long as I just see the biceps. It's funny because like that scene. If you do a search, like if I'm texting friends and I do a search for high five or arm, that comes up, right? And it's no connection to Predator. And a lot of people use it back to me, and they've never even watched a Predator film, or they don't know that the red polo is so iconic, right? I went to a party once, and a friend of mine was wearing a red polo, and I said to him, "Well, are you trying to be Dutch from Predator?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" But there are elements where certain parts have become so pop culture, and the arm thing I thought was a great. When I first heard this rumor, the first thing I thought it was 2-player. What a great way to introduce a 2-player person. But look, I really love what you've done. It reminds me a lot of the immersive layout that Alien had. Obviously, I understand it wasn't one that you guys did yourself, but I'm assuming you've taken a lot of inspiration from that game, considering that was a very popular title for you guys, right?
Yeah, sure, but it is also not really true that we didn't do it, because a lot of the people who are involved in the development team now
came across,
are actually from that time. I mean, Kelly, who does all the animations and things on screen. We also have Brian Dominy still involved, and Oric did the artwork, of course. He did the Playfield artwork and the cabinet artwork, and he did that for all the Alien versions. So
Well, I'm glad you cleared that up, because a lot of anytime there's been any conversations in forums or discords, everyone's like, yeah, but they didn't do Alien, right? And I was like, yeah, but I did hear a rumor that you guys were involved, and I didn't know the full story, and I wanted to ask you this as well. But obviously, if you're saying it was a few of the original team, then there is a connection there, which is I think it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, we. I think because I was actually around at the time, I was in the prototype room for Alien as well, even if I didn't was designing the game. But I would say we have the sort of same. It's definitely the same passion about this this theme, to be honest. So everybody are working around the clock to make this happen, and it's not it's not just another job, if I put it that way. It's something completely different. So and hopefully that shows in the end. So we are doing the best we can, obviously.
Look, I like I said, I implore everyone that hasn't played Alien to try and get to one. I've been a big ambassador for that game. Had the SV version, sold that because at the time it was money and space, and then eventually I said one day I want to get an LV, which is what I've done. It's safe to say that the cabinet size head box is identical to Alien, the same shape and everything. Nothing's changed.
That's a really good question. If something changed, it's not much. At least that much I can say. So it's, but there are a few things that have changed. I don't think I'm not entirely 100% sure about the measurements if they are exactly the same. But we have removed the lock.
Yes.
And moved it upwards into the, which is a much better solution, of course.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have that lock in the middle of the Predator logo.
Yeah.
So that is one change. Then the cutouts for the speakers are a bit different, but that doesn't affect the size, obviously.
No.
So
I asked purely because as a person that likes putting specific games together, it was interesting to see. I mean, if they're different, it doesn't matter either. Don't get me wrong. But it was just interesting to see how similar they would complement each other. Because they'll look amazing next to each other, obviously.
Yeah. So I shouldn't ruin that, but
No.
something else. But I'm just not sure it's 100%. But it's very, very close. That is.
Is it the idea of going back? I had an interview recently with Jack, and I said, for Jack Guarneri from JJP, and I said to him, look, not going back to wide bodies. And he said, well, we're set up for normal games, and to start doing wide bodies again means we've got to change everything. You had done obviously Alien as a wide body. Is your preference wide body because there's a nostalgia element there with wide bodies, or was it just something that you guys want to kind of be like your calling card that you do wide body action games?
I think first of all, he's right that it's kind of, in one sense, from a business perspective, it's kind of stupid to mix, to do both. But we thought honestly that this one had to be a wide body, no matter what. We just had to. One of the reasons, obviously, was to make it match Alien. Yeah. So that we want that too. So that was sort of a no-brainer for that. But we make it hard on ourselves, to be honest, because it is not that easy to mix. But we thought that this one really needs it. So I can't say that we have any sort of firm decision moving forward, because we are doing at EPC we are making Funhouse right now also. And ABBA, and they are sort of standard bodies. So it's and there are probably more remakes coming, and that could be wide bodies or there could be standard bodies. So I guess we have to live with the fact that we we have decided to make both, I guess.
And I'll just quickly go through some of the stuff that's on this poster. And again, great poster. So we spoke about the fact that it's wide body. The Predator icon cut out black stealth trims. Is that what you're referring to in relation to the speaker grills?
No, that is the side rails that we
Oh,
made.
side rails. Okay. Oh, yes, of course. The red. Sorry,
Yeah.
I should know that. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
really
side
hard to
rails.
see that on the picture, but it's you actually
Yeah.
have that Yautja characters stamped into the yeah.
Yep.
So you actually
And
have some text there.
and that's still the same, even though you don't get the trophy package. It would just be black or
Yeah,
silver.
yeah,
Is it just black? Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
It's just sort of normal powder coating. Yeah,
yep. We spoke about that. It's a 3-flipper game. There are 2 pop bumpers, 3 jungle mission spinners. I was going to ask you about the spinners. I'm a huge fan of spinners. I think every
yeah.
game should have a minimum of 2. So I was really excited to read that this had 3. Is there
Yeah.
a specific sound that each one makes, or do they all make the same sound when you hit the spinner?
They make out of mode. I think they currently make the same sound,
Yep.
but they obviously have different sounds depending on when you play the assignment mode. For
Yep.
instance, you have a certain sound and so on.
Awesome. No,
And
I'm a sucker for spinners.
me too. So I really like them. We actually had 4 spinners from the
Ah,
beginning, but
yeah.
one of my ideas didn't sort of it didn't work out, so we had to scrap that one.
Yeah.
But three is enough then.
Now the super stand-up targets, because this is something that I don't often see. Can you explain a little bit to the viewers what super stand-ups are?
This is where the market department and the development team maybe are
Because
not.
I did. Well, let me ask you this, because I actually done a bit of research, because I had one view of super drop targets and another view, and one of them was the super drop targets are more precision control.
Mm,
They've got a different sensor in them to detect like exact position. They can be used for dynamic rules, if I'm not mistaken. That's the part I wasn't sure about. I was going to do a bit more research, and they reset and drop faster, from my understanding.
okay, yeah. But I don't think that, to be honest, I don't think that that much thinking has gone into the word super in this case. But
Yep.
what we have done is that these stand-up targets are used in Funhouse also, and they are an evolution of the stand-up targets we have used before. And I know that we have been criticized quite heavily for the stand-up targets in the past.
Yep.
I think the good thing about them is obviously that you can light them up in different colors and so on in Alien, for instance. These ones are just lit up in white light, but they are thinner than the ones used before, and they are sturdier, and they work really well. So in this game, we don't have stand-up targets that are they are kind of strategic in the game. Of course, they are important, but they are not that many, and they are in kind of strategic spots. So you don't shoot them that much as an Alien, for instance. So, yeah.
No, that's okay. Cool. I was just going through this. So 3 outposts. We did touch on that before. We got 2 Playfield magnets. Now, one of those magnets was in the right orbit, if I'm not mistaken. Where was the other one again?
Yeah, you have one in the right orbit, which
Yep.
actually is kind of cool, because when that is active, it can be active sometimes when you loop with the upper flipper. You can actually loop both in the left orbit and,
Yep.
and get the ball back and loop again, and you also can go looping in the left ramp. And sometimes during jungle encounters, for instance, the magnet, the right orbit magnet, actually grabs the ball on the way back to the flipper and calms it down and drops it to the flipper. You can also, it's also in some situations you actually activate it from below, so you can actually pass the ball, from the lower flippers up to the magnet, and then it drops the ball back down to the upper flippers. You can actually feed the upper flipper using that magnet, and I think that's really useful in the game. The other
It's
one is the
quite
other.
strategic there. It's a bit like the one in Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, exactly. And it's quite in use quite a lot. And then you have the other magnet at the very top.
Which is behind?
It's behind everything. So it's
Yeah.
I think you can see it just in
Oh, just there?
a
Let
bit
me go in.
up there.
No.
It's hard to see, but it's
Yeah.
actually more or less to the right of the wireform there, wireform ramp, below there. I'm not sure if that is the magnet showing there or not, but it's dropping the ball. It's catching the ball and dropping it down in a subway. So that is
nice. Okay, cool. All right, so I'll stop that one. In relation to, sorry if I'm deep diving too much. It's what we tend to do.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah.
No, sorry, what were you saying?
I have to ask this about the time. Yeah. Because I have another appointment in 4 minutes.
No problems. No, we'll get through this now.
Okay.
So obviously we know it's loaded. A lot of people would have seen this already. We know about the Predator trophy package. We've got iconic Predator sound clips, movie quotes, call outs, which is great. Original score by Alan Silvestri. How did you've used Alan before, haven't you?
No, we haven't.
First time? Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a lot of scores for TV shows and movies, doesn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, his name sounds so familiar, and I was going to look him up, and I didn't. And we got newly composed Predator Pinball soundtracks, which is great. I think that's, and again, if it's anything like Alien, such an immersive experience. Was there anything that kind of it had to be in the game? Like what had to be in there that you guys thought we really need to make sure from the beginning that this had to be included?
I think obviously the Predator. I mean, the whole movie for us is that it's kind of obvious, but it is the Predator is really the unique creature, and we had to get him into the game, and we need to make him. You have to feel that he is there, and you are fighting him. That is sort of the essence of the game, I would say. That doesn't mean that you do that all the time or even a lot, but he's lurking around there, and he's always there to attack you. So it's that's important thing. And I also think that what we have really tried to do is to have this to catch those contrasts from the movie with the calm. There's a lot of calm sections in the movie where they are actually moving in the jungle, nothing much happens, and then suddenly hell breaks loose and there is a lot of action. And I think that is something that the game is reflecting in a good way. There can be calm moments. You are stepping into the jungle when you start the game. It doesn't feel that dangerous, but then things happen, and then it sort of comes alive. So,
which is part of creating that immersive experience. There's a lot of moments in the movie where it's quiet, it's very calm, and then boom, you get this intense jump scare, and I think it's done well. And I think I get criticized between a lot of my movie buff friends where I say Predator for me, Predator is a masterpiece of a film. And considering that, like, they had so little, like it was a small cast, it was a small set, it was a lean script, it was a small script, but yet they managed to create something that was intense, captivating. The more you watch it, the better it gets. It was a really intelligent film, and I think it's such a great translation into what you guys have created. And from what I've seen, I think it's going to be magic. I know there's going to be some pushback on some of the stuff with no Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that, but you know, you've explained that really well, and I appreciate that. And look, I know we've gone over time, so thank you very much. I'm sure we'll speak again. We'll probably get some gameplay of this game, and yeah, we'll get more info from you in the future.
Sure. Thank you for having me. It was nice.
No,
Nice talking to you.
Pleasure. Thank you. And guys, again, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and please make sure you play Alien if you haven't, because that will give you a really good indication of what they've created here with Predator.